The knuckles are... That's a bad angle. Nope. The knuckles are here. That kind of worked. My thumb is covering it. Point is, we got them. I have them. I've been using them for a good week or two now, and I've been using them heavily. At least about 4 or 5 hours a day. I've been trying to get into VR and really throw these things around. I've been playing Creed. I've been playing Blade and Sorcery. I've been playing Drunken Bar Fight. I've been trying to really give these things a proper wear and tear. So that I could give you a good review on them. Where I really got this idea was on the first day of the Knuckles, everyone was like, this is the greatest controller ever made. They're absolute perfection, undefeatable, the greatest controller to ever be built. And then by the second day, there were a lot of like, oh wow, there's quite a few people breaking their controllers. It's pretty crazy. Maybe they had build. And now we're at the world is burning. Every Knuckles controller is useless. Don't buy them. It's insane. So yeah, I tried to give some time to let the insanity rise and then fall again, and for me to build a proper view on these things. I didn't want to just rush into it. These are some seriously interesting controllers, some of the best, most interesting things I've seen happen to PC VR in quite a while. So yeah, I've bumped these things around, I've clicked the thumbsticks in, I've squeezed the controllers a million billion times to test these, which, like, I mean, if you got the Vive controllers originally, no one could have told you these things would have fallen apart so bad. I spent more money repairing controllers last year than I did buying headsets. Because these things they're made of cardboard. No review could have told you that would have happened in the first 2 weeks. Unless maybe they used this thing like I have done with the Knuckles. Hopefully that works out this way. These things are built fantastically. I've got to say, they're far smaller than you think they are in your head. And they are far lighter. They are so light. One thing that I noticed happened almost immediately, like a day or two into use, was the trigger on the back became really squeaky. Can you hear that? Yeah, it's kind of disgusting. It happens on both of them. And this isn't a huge issue. Definitely not. Nothing I'd ever complain about on a regular controller. It's almost expected after a little bit of use. But how short it took to happen was a bit concerning. And these are some expensive controllers. This shouldn't break. It kind of shouldn't. It should never break. You know, it's gonna break, and I'm aware of that. But the short time it took for a simple error like this to happen is concerning, to say the least. I'm going to talk about the thumbsticks. Everyone talks about the thumbsticks. The thumbsticks suck ass. I'll admit, they suck big old donkey dick. The grip texture on the front is fine. It's whatever. I'm not that complaining about it. The size is fine for my thumbs, and I tried my dad. My dad has fucking 8 hands, and he can use it just fine. Sorry, Dad, I didn't mean to say you had 8 hands. You just have big hands. I mean, all is kind of good. It doesn't make any noticeable noise. The tension / feedback you get when turning it is just nice enough. Okay, first of all, the click generally is kind of... I think it takes too much pressure. I don't know. It's not something I complain about, though. It's very little. It's the fact that in multiple areas, clicking is either very difficult or completely impossible, which breaks a lot of features in a lot of games. Sprinting is the main one. You push forward to sprint, and while you're running, you click in the thumbstick to sprint. I got unlucky that my left thumbstick, meaning, yeah, the one I move around with, and forward and clicking doesn't work. I'll let you listen to it. So here it is normally. Here it is pushed up slightly. And then all the way. I mean, it's just silence, isn't it? I can click it, and it does, it makes an action in the game. So it does work, and it registers my click, but yeah, you can't really hear it, and it takes a little too much pressure to feel satisfying. It's an error in manufacturing, and Valve have done an awful job of explaining this to their users. Hopefully the problem is fixed now, and if you buy yours, you shouldn't run into these thumbstick issues. A note for the unaware, the thumbstick issue has been a massive issue in the VR community ever since the Knuckles got released. Oculus even memed on Valve a little bit when this happened. That's why I made this part in the video a little longer, but my personal issues have not been immense, but I know that a lot of other people have had nearly unusable thumbsticks. The touchpad also acts like the old Vive touchpad in most games that would support a Vive touchpad, so that's nice. And yeah, these things are plasticky, but they're a solid build material, and they do feel good in your hand. They're reflective, and they pick up fingerprints. I will say that. It's not something that ever bothered me personally, but I hear every reviewer mention it, so I assume someone out there is like, fingerprints on my devices! Finding comfort immediately with the thing can be kind of difficult, but once you find it, it's super easy. You have these 2 adjustment bits. You can move this up and down to try to adjust like how far up your hand goes on the top of it, and this strap at the bottom that will allow you to tighten and untighten. The same goes for the whole strap piece. This is beautiful. I love this fabric. I don't know what it is. It's super plushy. It doesn't allow too much movement while still being comfortable on your wrist. I love this part of the design. It can be on so lightly. Like, this is barely on my hand. There's space. It's not moving. It all goes such a long way to where when you do shove your hand in there and tighten up, it feels fantastic, feels secure, feels good, feels comfy. I think the buttons are fine, and they're just buttons. I feel like I'm the type of person to complain a lot about little things like buttons, but these are simple, mate. These are just buttons. Play Blade and Sorcery, I grip pretty hard, you know, you get really into it. And I'd kind of get these folds in between my fingers. You can see some of the catalyst still on. I told you I've been using these things so much. But yeah, I'd pressure too hard and I'd fold up this bit of my skin and I'd get these little catalysts on the top of my hand. Really gross, right? You can kind of see the coloration. But yeah, I eventually discovered I just had it on too tight with the top setting. As a controller, this thing is fantastic, and the design of it strapping around your hand and trapping in your fingers for VR use is, you know, it's really smart. It's really interesting, and I love this kind of stuff in VR. It's something that I was scared would be a gimmick, but once I was in game, I definitely realized it has a shit ton of use. Just being able to let go of objects to throw them, and then picking up stuff by just reaching out and picking it up by closing my hand like you would in real life is so intuitive. It's shocking we didn't think about it before. Yeah, the finger tracking. The finger tracking is as good as I expected it to be. I think some people are definitely over-expecting it. I think some people think it's one-to-one finger tracking, that you're going to look down and see your hand and be like, look at every movement of it. Okay, to try and explain this simply, because you can't really see it, I can't show you in real life. But imagine just a basic, like, distance sensor, and it has a scale of 1 to 100. Based on a distance. My finger gets close enough, and I kind of pass over. It's now tracking, and as I get closer, that number from 1 to 100 goes lower. Whatever the game does with that data is up to the game, so not every game is going to track your fingers. It is, it's a button. You've got to think about it like 100 little buttons that are based on a distance of your finger. It is not finger tracking. It feels like it, though. It's a clever way to trick your brain into thinking, oh, what? It's tracking my fingers. But yeah, when you first go in and you do it, you're going to be like, whoa, that's kind of freak. It's a little weird. But the weirdest part I noticed is when you forget about it, and then you're just walking around and you actually start doing hand gestures. And all the old stuff, flipping people off, doing thumbs up and all that stuff is great. They also add little extra trackers into the buttons and the touchpad and even the thumbstick, which surprised me.
This was a triumph.
More than anything, this is a revolution in controls. The open hand gesture thing is crazy. The finger tracking is crazy. But more than anything, just I like this thing on the top. I like the 2 buttons. I like the touchpad, and I like the thumbstick. My negatives are short, but the problem with the negatives is that they could write off the whole thing. This broken thumbstick thing, we have no way of telling when it's over. Like. You could take this review now and say, you know, it's probably been long enough. Kieran got his weeks ago. I'm sure they fixed it now. And you could buy them and got the same issue. Now what are you going to do? You know, the use cases are not rare. They're often enough where you notice them. It's a little ugly. And there's probably a million things you could do better with it. I'm sure that some other company are about to blow this thing out the water. The same with the Vive controller and the Oculus Touch, where, yeah, they had the right idea, but a couple adjustments, and oh, that is so much smarter. And I think the same is going to go for the Index. Buy these if you're an enthusiast, if you're really into VR. But I don't think this is the everyman controller. This isn't the PS4 controller of controllers. Hey, who's this fucking jabroni who keeps showing up at the end of all the videos? I'm just back to say thanks for watching the video again. I know I keep appearing. It's been really long since my last proper upload. I've been making stuff, I just haven't been uploading it. A lot of the stuff I make I'm just not proud enough of, and I throw it away, and I know that doesn't make much content, but I hope you guys appreciate that when I do put up content it is pretty good. It's starting to come inside. Whoa! This rain is getting out of hand! That was a really pretty shot until that happened. I feel like it kind of loses its punch if I keep saying it every episode, so I'll probably stop here, but thanks for showing up every video. Thanks for subscribing and watching stuff. This is a real dream of mine. Anyway, I'm gonna let you enjoy the rain. See you guys next video.